Hey chess friends, my name is Sprout, and welcome back to the Beginner Basics series here on YouTube. Today I'm going to teach you how to think during a chess game. What do you want to be thinking about as you're playing the moves? What are your priorities? So in our game so far, they played e3. They played e3, and since they're not taking the center, right now I want to take the center. They're not trying to fight for the center at all, and now they still haven't fought for the center. And we're going to break down what this move does here, because one of the best ways to get better at chess is to make sure that we are considering what our opponent is doing and not just what we're trying to do. We have to look at what moves they are doing and try to anticipate what they're going to be threatening. Let's look at this move. This move, it blocks in the light squared bishop, so already this is making developing a little bit more inefficient for them, right? So, because when we develop our pieces, we want to develop them as efficiently as we can, as quickly as we can, so that we can get out and start making threats. Now, this move is really slow. Like I said, it blocks in the bishop here. Presumably, they're going to move their knight to f3 at some point, because they got to develop it, and that's going to make it difficult for the queen to get out, so maybe they'll have to move their queen a second time. And in the opening, we really don't want to move a piece more than once, because again, we're focused on efficiency. We want to get our pieces out as efficiently as possible. If we have to move the same piece more than once, then we're breaking opening principles. Let's go ahead and take the center, since our opponent isn't doing anything with the center. We see now that the queen has made a second move, 2 moves in a row. Now we have some choices here. We can play e4. I'm thinking e4 because if we play e4, d5 here is guarded by our queen. If we play e4, we're going to force their queen to move a third time. However, we also haven't developed any pieces yet. We want to make sure to be developing pieces, and we want to make sure to be super solid. Now, it might be tempting to, in some way, try to attack the queen, but the best thing that we can do right now in this position is to get developed so that we are generating more threats more quickly than what our opponent can do. Basically, we are trying to punish our opponent's bad play, but this sort of punishment doesn't happen immediately. We have to build up to it. So I'm going to get my knight developed. In general, knights before bishops is a principle. If I move my knight to f6, I'm strengthening d5. I'm overprotecting it. So let's just go there for now and see what our opponent does. Now they've moved their queen again. And let's look at what they can do. They can still attack this, and now they can also attack b7. So we have to be aware that if we move our bishop, if we do anything with this bishop, they can come in here and attack, and that's going to be really horrible for us, because once they hit that, they might be able to hit the rook. Things can start falling apart. I'm going to start with the move knight to c6. What does this do? It develops another piece. White hasn't developed a single piece, so I'm going to develop another piece. And they've moved their knight out. Now we're getting into an interesting situation where we could end up trapping the queen if they're really not careful. I'm going to start with the move a6, which seems to be a really slow move. It does stop the bishop from coming out and bothering our knight. But it also sets up a possible trap on our opponent's queen. So let's do this and see what they're going to do. It should be mentioned that we are ahead in our development right now compared to our opponent, so we can spend a tempo to do a slower move. Okay, we see they blundered, which really makes me sad. I wanted this queen trap to work. The idea is that if they hadn't played here, we could move the bishop over to d7, and then when the queen comes in here and takes on b7, there's this really nasty trap of bringing our knight over to a5, which traps the queen. It 100% traps the queen, and there's no way for the queen to get out of it. but they're not going to let us have that fun. So right here, it's just a free bishop. So I'm thinking we're going to capture this free bishop, right? And you can see that we have, again, we're still ahead in development. And now the queen is over here. I'm trying to think if we can still maybe get away with the queen trap. I think we might almost be able to. If we still might be able to play d7 there. And let's just put on our thinking caps, okay? This is what I'm cooking right now, and this is what you need to be cooking up too in these situations. You need to kind of think, what happens if I move my bishop? Well, if I move my bishop, the queen is going to take on b7, and then from there, if I swing my knight over to here, the knight is guarded by the rook, right? They can't take the rook, they can't move over here, they can't take here. So the queen would have to... Oh yeah, and the queen also can't go and take this because it's defended, right? The queen would have to somehow go back, right? But if we move here, they take... they wouldn't be able to go back here, right? Because it's defended by her pawn. They wouldn't be able to go back to there because... well, if we move this bishop here first, then... you know, they're going to be attacked to there. They wouldn't be able to go here because of this bishop, and they wouldn't be able to go all the way back because our knight is eventually going to come over there. So let's try that, okay? Let's go ahead and see if our opponent takes. And they don't, and that makes me very sad again. So we need to figure out another thing to do. Our pawn is being attacked in the center, so we should probably take it. And they didn't retake, so we have to think about it now. Do we want to just take another pawn here, or do we want to maybe think about castling our king? Now, right now we still have a lead in development, right? We have a lot more pieces developed, but maybe they could catch up. I don't really see how. We're still giving them the ability to take here and make a mistake, but I want to take a look here at what pieces... I want to take a look here at what squares overall white is threatening. You see how passive they've been. You see how little they've developed. So I'm just going to highlight all of the squares that that they control, or that they are that they're threatening. Okay. I think, and then the queen is over here, so the queen has a couple over here that they're threatening, right? So white has a lot, right? They have all that they're threatening. Let's see what black is threatening, right? And you can see overall, black is threatening way more than white is. That's the power of developing your pieces. Since black has more pieces developed, they have way more control over much more of the board. And that is what's going to win games. This is kind of an example of why you need to develop. Why, when I say that chess is a team game, and that you can't have any of your pieces stuck at home being lazy, you got to put them to work. This is showing why. Because we have so much of the board. If we move our bishop, by the way, out to here, then we can also include these squares as being threatened or controlled by us, right? So we want to be able to control or threaten as many squares as possible. For that reason, we're going to move the bishop here. Now our opponent takes our pawn. We can retake. The interesting thing here is that when we retake, you might notice that our bishop lines up with their queen. So this is called a discovery attack, so that when we take their knight, we're also attacking the queen. We're in fact attacking the queen two different ways. And that means that they will not be able to retake our knight, because they have a more important thing, they have a more important threat that they have to respond to, right? So we're going to take here. the queen has to move back. So see, we basically got that piece for free. And now we can just move right back. We don't have to get flashy. We don't have to try any crazy sacrifices. I'm not thinking about doing that at all. I'm thinking about just going home, cashing in our chips. You know, we got this. We are 5 points ahead. There's no reason to take crazy chances. So we're just gonna put the knight back where it was. This pawn is defended. This is a free pawn over here. So let's just take a look, make sure it's free. What could we take it with? Right now we can take it either with the knight or the bishop. I kind of like taking it with the bishop, because if we take with the bishop, it increases our bishop's scope even more. Our bishop controls more squares, really annoying squares to be controlling in white's position. There could be an argument as well for taking with the knight, but I also like it close over here to these pawns, because it's also helping to control h7, which in certain lines could be considered a bit weak after we castle. Sometimes there are sacrifices that white would want to do on that square. So we're going to take with the bishop. Also, the knight is guarding this pawn, so if we were to take with the knight, we'd drop the defense of that pawn. So now I'm thinking our job is done, and we just move it back again. There's no reason to, you know, to do anything fancy. We can't move it here anyway. It's just going to get, you know, that would just be blundering a piece. So we just move it back. This time I'm thinking about moving it to e6, because if it's on e6, it's also helping to strengthen d5 right now. And if we ever push d5 at some point in the future, then the scope of the bishop will open up, and it will be able to control these both of these diagonals, and that seems pretty powerful. So let's go ahead and do that. Our opponent played c4. They are threatening to take on d5, and if we reject their trade, they might also push to c5, which of course would attack this bishop. But at the moment, pushing is not really an option, because if they do push and attack the bishop, we just retake, so I'm not too worried about that. However, if they take, what can happen? Well, they fork these two pieces, but we have a really firm grasp of this square, right? If they take, how many pieces do we have defending the square? We have 2 pieces defending the square, and they only have 2 attackers on the square. We only have to worry if the number of attackers ends up being more than the number of defenders. So we are fine. We don't have to respond to that threat right now. So in that case, I'm just going to castle. We want to get our king to safety and out of danger. Usually we would have wanted to castle before now. I tell beginners that you really want to castle by move 10, but we had the initiative and we were taking advantage of our opponent's bad play. So it wasn't really crucial for us to castle super quickly. Now, we have to retake this pawn, right? What are we going to retake with? And I'm noticing right away that if we retake with the bishop, it comes with a threat, right? We retake with the bishop, and the keen-eyed among you might notice that we are threatening white's rook. So that probably is what we should retake with. Also, if we retake with the knight, there isn't really a clear follow-up. Maybe we can spend an extra turn trying to threaten the queen, maybe trying to go for some trick on c2, but there's no guarantee that a fork trick on c2 would work. It relies on our opponent doing kind of doing a blunder and not seeing it, and that's called hope chess. And in general, the higher rated you get, the more dangerous it is to play hope chess, because if your opponent doesn't do what you're hoping they do, you just end up in a much worse position. So I'm going to take with the bishop, and it's defended by the knight. They see it, and they move their rook. I'm thinking we should get our first rook on this semi-open file. So what we're eventually going to do is we want to put this rook on the open file, and then we want to move our queen out of the way of these 2 rooks so that they'll be connected. That just makes it so that they're more powerful. We still haven't created any sort of hatch, any sort of escape hatch for our king. So having the rooks connected on the back rank is just going to make sure that we are super secure. We don't have to worry about any shenanigans going on. So I'm going to start with the move rook to e8. And I want to show you real quickly again. I'm going to come back to it. I was showing earlier how many squares we control and visualizing that. And I just want to do that one more time so that we can see all of the squares that we are currently threatening, right? Because it's even more now. So right now we are threatening all of those squares. Did I miss any? I think that's about it. But again, that's pretty much the entire board that we are threatening, right? Now we look at where our opponent, the opponent's squares that they're threatening and that they are controlling. Let's quickly do that, just again as a visualizer. And yeah, I think that's about it. So black has a lot more squares that they're currently threatening than white. So that's another way that you know that black is better here. You don't necessarily have to visualize it in that way, but I wanted to show you the impact it makes having pieces developed versus having them sit at home and not do anything. I'm looking at you, bishop and knight. So that's why, and even this rook is horrible as well. It's just staring at a pawn. They played the move a4, and now I'm thinking that we need to move our queen out of the way, and we need to... I think I have suggested moving the rooks to the center is a really good chess principle. If we look at our chess principles here, fourth one down is move rooks to the center files. And in general, this is a really good piece of advice. In this current situation, one of our center files is really good, and this rook here, though, is also has a potential to get in the game as well. But I think just to show you, like, those opening principles, let's do that. Let's get our rooks to the middle. And how are we going to do that? Well, we got to move our queen out of the way, right? So it all starts with that. Let's move our queen to d7. I'm also noticing that if we move it to d7, we're also threatening h3. So we go ahead and move it. And they are continuing to push the pawn. So we have to evaluate. We could go and take this pawn over here. It's a free pawn. But is the pawn bothering us? Is the pawn bothering us? And do we get anything extra from taking it? I would argue even that we don't. My reasoning being, if we take the pawn, there might be some future at some point where it opens up this file for white. And if white were in the future to get a rook on this file, and you might notice that the queen is also pointed over here, that could be a really bad situation for us. Luckily, we have this knight here that's guarding h7. But it still might not be to our advantage to do that. So I'm thinking this pawn has entered onto our side of the board, and we have two pieces that are able to attack it right now. Plus we're ahead, so let's take with the rook and see if we can get them to trade their rook with us. If they don't, we would have just gone in and taken it, so that's fine. So we're going to take with the knight, and we're going to see what happens. Now they're attacking us. This is a really bad move, because let's just count. How many pieces do we have attacking that e4 pawn? We have 1, 2, 3. How many pieces do they have defending it? They have 1, 2. 3 is greater than 2, so we can take. What do we want to take with? And so we don't want to take with our rook, right? Because if we take with the rook, we'll be down in exchange. So let's look at what we could take with. We can take with the knight, but there is a chance that you might notice that the knight is defending our bishop. We mentioned it earlier, but we can't forget that. So if we take with the knight, there is the chance that our opponent could use the opportunity to take our bishop with the queen. And that would kind of be bad for us, right? So we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to take with the bishop. Okay, took with the bishop. Now we can take back with the knight. Everything's still locked down. We're not giving any other pieces. And now we have to consider where to move. We do have a what would be called a discovery check, a discovery attack, as soon as we move this this knight anywhere else. So I kind of like that, because anytime your one of your pieces is blocking a check, you have a huge kind of advantage that you can use, a huge tool at your disposal. So you should always look at what you can do in these discovery attacks, right? So we see, well, we could take the bishop. It threatens the king, but the king or the queen would just retake the knight. That doesn't do much. Same thing over here, we could take, but I imagine the king would just retake. We could swing our knight around here. That means that the king has to deal with check, but we are threatening the rook, right? So that could be something. That looks pretty good. We could also, and I'm looking at it, we could swing our knight over to c5 and threaten the queen. The king has to get out of check, so either, in that situation, either the king moves and the queen hangs, or they have to block with their queen. I like both those options, so let's just go with it, right? So they're going to have to figure out what to do, and they blocked with their queen. That's great for us. We don't even have to consider. We're just going to snatch that up. Okay? And now this piece is in front of the king. Anytime something like that happens, it's called a pin. So if we were to threaten the king, this piece would be locked in place almost like it never existed. So we're going to do that for right now. We're going to pin it to the king with our queen. And now it's stuck like that. And the move that the king just made, that's not really helping matters at all. So let's see what we can do, right? I think we can go here with our queen now, because this diagonal skewers the king and the rook. So now we need to put our thinking caps on, right? We're going to practice our calculation skills. Before we do any move, let's consider all the options. So if we move here, you would imagine that the king is going to want to stay next to the rook, right? Because if we move here and the king moves away from the rook, well, then we take the rook. So using that bit of knowledge, we know that the only thing we really have to calculate for is the king staying near the rook. So what happens if the king moves to e1? Because anything else is losing. Well, if they move to e1, we can probably move our knight in and give a check. How's that helping? Well, that is going to force the king to move away from the rook. And that's about as far as we need to go with that line of thinking. There's also bishop here we can use in the attack as well. Maybe swing it around. And we'll kind of see what happens. This knight as well could be valuable. We have too many pieces, right? So there's just too many pieces. So we're going to start with giving a check right here off of c4. Queen c4, see where they go. Like I said, that was the only logical place they'd go, right? Because they need to stay close to the they need to stay close to this rook. Otherwise, we'll take it. So let's go ahead and give another check. So they move forward, right? So they move forward. So we need to think about what we can do next to that. The rook is still tempting, but let's see. We might have checkmate on the board, right? So checkmate is better than taking a rook. What other checks are available to us right now? Well, we can move our bishop to b4. b4 will be another check, and the king would have to move to a white square, I imagine. Can't move anywhere over here because it's controlled by our queen, so it would have to move back to a light square. That looks all right. We could also move in our knight. Our knight looks pretty powerful. Can't stay here. Same deal. They're going to have to move somewhere else. So let's bring in the knight. Bring in the knight, and they go back to here. Unfortunately, this square is protected a few times, so we can't move any of our pieces in there without risking some kind of bodily harm. Don't want that. I think all we really have to do is is trade. So we'll just trade. Things are getting a little too complicated. Let's remove one of the defenders. They kind of do a nothing move over there. So I'm just going to take one of the defenders. We're up so many pieces right now, it's not really worth it for us to overthink things. I'm going to move my queen up here because it's defended by the knight. And we'll see where they move. I think we can go and bring this knight in. This knight is a fork at the very least. So let's bring this knight in. Alright, so they move there. Let's go ahead and just take that off the board. And now we really are going for checkmate. So we have to go for checkmate now. Let's see what we can do. Let's go ahead and give a check here. They move over there. Let's give another check. And we're just staying in line with these knights, okay? And now the king can't go this way, can't go this way, so we are building what's called a mating net, right? So we're just going to slowly build that mating net, and we will get checkmate really soon. I'm going to go ahead and play the move g6 right now. And we're just going to keep slowly moving in. Let's go ahead and play h5. h5 giving a check. They're going to have to move somewhere else. Oh, they've chosen to move this way. Well, let's see. If we move here, where can the king go? King can't really go anywhere else right now. Which is also important to note. We don't want to have any checkmates. We don't want to have any stalemates, but luckily our opponent still has this pawn here that can move, so it wouldn't be stalemate either way. But yeah, this should just be checkmate. That's going to do it for today's video. If you liked it, please be sure to like and subscribe. And if you want more videos like this, just let me know. Shoot me a comment. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't. Tell me if there are any topics that you want me to cover. Alright, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!